Howdy everybody, how's it going? My name's Sabina. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through the process of creating this Amazonite and handmade Etruscan chain necklace. Start to finish, y'all. Start to finish. I'm taking you through the whole dang process. I'm going to tell you the story of how it came to be really quickly. If you would like to skip just to go straight for the build video, feel free to do so. I'll have that time stamped in my description below. This whole piece was made in 3 separate parts. The first part was actually the pendant. I made this pendant in 2021. It's been a few years. I got the stone from a guy who would go around the Phoenix Art Festival and sell his cabochons to jewelers, and you know, he got me. I'm a sucker for a gemstone, okay? And I found this stunning hand-cut Amazonite gemstone. Fast forward like a year and a half, I decide to make this gigantic pendant out of it. And then it sits around for a minute and I send it off to a boutique in California called Mojave Flea in Yucca Valley. If you're in the area, you should stop by. I still have a case of jewelry there, and there's also like a ton of other artisans and vintage collectors who showcase their goods, and it's a really great, awesome, amazing place. Part 2 is the chain itself. I had a little bit of experience with making Etruscan style chains in college. My professor at the time had this book, this classical loop and loops chain book, and given us like free reign to explore this book. I had photocopied a bunch of the instructions and thought, I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna wing it. So for the first half of the chain portion of this video, I am intending to make an entirely different chain. I was not intending to make a round rope style chain like this. I wanted it to be more square, completely different. But instead of following the actual instructions, I just used the dowel rod that I used during the creation of my original chains years and years ago to wrap all of the wire. And it turns out it was actually like twice as big. Like the loops were like literally twice as big as they needed to be. Sometimes, you know, you just gotta wing it and try it out and fail and pray to God you didn't fail so bad that 60 feet of fine silver goes to waste, which it won't go to waste. You know, at the very least, like fine silver can become granules. I could potentially roll it out and make new wire from it. Like, you know, it's not all lost, but you know, that was a risk and I took it. Yeah. I end up making the whole chain, realizing like halfway through that, oh, I used the wrong size dowel. All of these loops are the wrong size. And then I weave it incorrectly because it's the wrong chain. I'm making the wrong chain, using the wrong instructions for the chain that I'm actually making. And I'm so thankful that this material is rather forgiving, because with some careful annealing and some careful finagling, I got all of the links unwound and unwoven and rewoven. All of these links have been woven twice. Magic, extra magic. So now it's a nice like round full body chain. I'm happy with it. It ended up being plenty long enough. You know, it worked out all right. Thank the highest, you know what I'm saying? And I will say in this video, I'm only showing you part 2 and 3 because I had made this pendant so long ago. I actually was not filming content at the time of me creating this pendant. So there's like no actual proof that I made it other than the fact that you have to just trust me, okay? You just have to trust me. All right, anyway, as I said, I sent this piece to a boutique and it sat around for years, and I just was like, yo, this piece is like amazing. Like, it's my favorite of all of the things that I've made for the boutique, and I kept thinking about it. Part of me is like, is this supposed to be for me? Like, is this my pendant? You know, it's magical like that. Like, pieces call to specific people, and when you know, you know. So I was thinking like, maybe it's mine. But in 2023, I learned how to hand engrave. Game changer. At this point, I am hungry to scratch on anything that I can get my hands on. If it has a big enough surface on the back of the pendant, I will be scratching on it, and that is just how it goes. Lots of it was practice, and some of it turned into like really cool things that have sold. I get this piece back and it has a gigantic surface on the back. I had soldered the snake on, and everything around it, obviously, as you guys will see, was empty space. Like a lot of empty space, and my little engraver mind starts to churn and starts to gurgle, and I'm like, ooh, I have to engrave on it. because like that's the law, apparently. You will see the process of me engraving this pendant. I speed it up a lot. I show you like a very short clip of me engraving in real time. It's so excruciating to watch. Like while I'm doing it, it's very fun because, you know, like technical, hands-on, handcraft. When you're in the flow and in the moment, you don't realize how long it takes. I would say overall, there's 7.5 hours of engraving just on this pendant. That does not include the fabrication time of the pendant. That does not include the fabrication time of the chain and all of that went involved. So how everything came together is I recently moved into this space. Actually, it was like a year ago. This chain was the last thing that I created in my old studio space in Arizona. And when I moved here, I was kind of like suffering from burnout. You know, things just weren't flowing right. I needed to take a break, but I was like very much in denial of that. So what I was doing was looking at all of the things that I had created and changing them. Fix, Finish, Fire, that whole series was birthed out of burnout because I couldn't like generate a new idea, but I had a bunch of jewelry on hand that was good enough, but like could be better. So this chain, I had kind of teased that I had made it, but there was just something about it, like it was like waiting for something to hang on it that was perfect. I had worn it a little bit. It had a different clasp on it when I originally finished it. And there was just something about it that like wasn't quite right until I got these spring clasp, like ring spring clasps. And they're spring clasps because they, like you just have to push it and it snaps back. So like there's a spring mechanism in there that like opens and closes it. So it's like really nice and secure. I had gotten a couple of these just like for funsies to play around, see what happens. And the circle and the way that, I don't know, just like the way that this all came together, you'll see a clip of me kind of figuring it out, just putting the pieces together. And I think that I was onto something. I was like, damn, these pieces actually like really go together. So that's how this was birthed. It's May 7th as I'm filming this. I have to confess that this piece has been done for like 2 months. I just have had it hung on my wall and I've been staring at it. I'm like, do I tell the world that I created this? Do I put this video together? Do I let the world know that I've handcrafted something this good? Part of it is a fear of being seen. Hello, working through that. Part of it is maybe it just wasn't its time to shine. You know, I listen to my intuition. You know, me and my intuition, we're best buds these days. It never really felt right to share until like literally last week. It was like, you have to put that video out. So here we are. I'm filming the intro to this video and it will be in your eyeballs this week. Without further ado, please enjoy the process of me making this pendant and necklace. It was very fun to make. I would love to make another one of these chains and redeem myself. Because of my failure with this chain, I actually just was like, you know, I'm gonna invest in the real thing. No longer are we gonna be pulling from photocopied instructions. I need the whole thing, and it's actually been very insightful. I would really love to do a series of making classical loop and loop chains. If anybody is interested, let me know. If you would like to purchase this pendant, it will be in my shop. You can find my shop via my link tree in the description down below. If it is gone by the time that you view this video, no, fret not, honey. If somebody wants something this badass from me, yes, please let me make it for you. I have so many gems that I'm sitting on that are just amazing that need like one of these to live with, because just like a little simple something is just simply not good enough to do the gemstone justice. So let's chat. If you would like one for yourself, let's chat. I can make you something special just for you. Let's get into the video. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, do all the things, you know how it goes. So for part 1 of this video, we're going to make the chain. We're starting with 60 feet of 20 gauge fine silver in wire form, round wire. I am wrapping it around this 3/4 inch copper tube, and this is the tube that I made all of the links for the original Etruscan chain that I made in college. I had kept it, thought maybe I'd want to do it again, but this is like really the first mistake that I made during the whole process of making the chain that I was trying to make, because it was simply way too big. I needed a 5/8 inch dowel, and that is a 3/4 inch dowel, so it is much bigger than what I needed. And also another thing is that when you tape the links, they're supposed to be really tight to the dowel rod. You're not supposed to let any of the slack get let out of the wire. And I did let the slack out of all the wire. But you tape it so that it's easier to cut and so that the links don't go everywhere. And then once you have all the links cut, you have to butt the ends of each loop. So I think it was like 240 links. I don't have the book in front of me to see like exactly how many, but 240 is my guess. Making sure that all the shapes are right, getting the ends together so that they can then be fused. And the difference between fusing and soldering is that you heat the links up evenly and essentially melt the ends together so it's one solid link. Like with soldering, I would have to apply a chemical flux to keep the metal clean, and then I would be applying a little chip of solder to the joint, and that usually consists of a mix of silver and other metals that have a lower melting point so that everything can kind of combine. But with chains like this, you don't want to solder a ton. I mean, you could make this out of sterling silver and solder all the links. It would be a little bit of a harder chain. The fine silver is really soft, so it is more malleable. It's easier to weave. It will relax better as you wear the necklace and just kind of become like more malleable. And having less solder it just makes a cleaner final product. So I, over the course of a few days, end up fusing all of the links together into links, and it's fun. Use a brand new fresh soldering board so that no flux or any kind of dirt gets on your links, so they're all like nice and clean. And then you just use the smallest flame size that you can. I'm using an acetylene B tank, and so I'm using a 00 flame. And yeah, there you go. A couple days of work leads to all of these chains being fused together and ready for the next step, which is forming them. So you take needle nose pliers, which I don't actually have a clip like at the right angle of, apparently I didn't capture that, and you stretch all of the links out so that they become like long ovals. And then you take two links and you make this kind of like infinity symbol, and you do solder those together because this is going to be the base that you weave all of the links off of. If I was doing the right chain, it would be a lot tighter together, but as you can see, it's really loose. Like something about it just wasn't right. And at this point I kind of realized like, oh, I cannot make the necklace that I want with the links that I made. This is like way too open. It doesn't look as uniform as it should. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with this, but there's just a lot of room. And if there's a lot of room for everything to wiggle around, it could potentially break. And it just also wasn't like aesthetically what I was looking for. So I put it down for a few days, and you guys can't see that obviously because I only filmed when I was working on it, but I unwove everything, re-annealed everything, re-stretched everything out, and that is what it looks like. Like, I was so thankful to be able to rework all of these pieces without a ton of them breaking. And for the most part, everything stretched back out to be nice and straight. I think the key is honestly anneal, anneal, anneal. I annealed before I unwove. I annealed after I unwove. I stretched everything out. And then I think I even annealed it again so that it could be woven. Like, I annealed these pieces so many times. And then here you can see I'm actually weaving it correctly. Kind of have to weave through the, not like, how do I say this? How do I say this for you guys? When you're weaving it, you kind of want to weave through the second to last loop so that it's all really tight together. I was previously only weaving through the last loop. And I don't know, if it doesn't really matter. The nuances of all of that doesn't really matter. But what I figured out was that I just needed to do it differently. And I needed to do it like I was going to do a round chain instead of a square chain, and just pivot and expect myself to make the correct chain later in life. Maybe a couple years later, who knows? It doesn't really matter. But as you can see, I'm weaving it out, and I don't really know how long it's going to be once I draw it all out, because here you can see there's the next step in this process after you weave it is to draw it. So you draw it through these holes that get progressively smaller and smaller. And this tightens all of the links. It draws them all close together. It makes it so that there's not a ton of space between all of the links. So it's really nice and tight. Creates a stronger weave, all of that. And I would stretch it out a little bit, weave a little more, stretch it out a little bit, weave a little more, and kneeling between each process until I think I made like a 20-inch chain. And that pretty much used all of the lengths that I created. There was only a few lengths that ended up breaking or were just like not big enough that, didn't get used in the final product. So I'm really thankful that I ended up having enough wire to actually finish the chain. And then I handmade little caps to go on the end of the chain to attach rings to attach a clasp to, because at the time of me making this, I was just going to make a chain. I was just going to have it be like a plain Etruscan chain, and here you can see that it's all woven. The solder's been all cleaned up. I attached this sterling silver swivel chain to it, and at this point I actually have to pack up my entire studio because I'm moving to a different state in like a week. So this was the final thing that I made in my studio in Arizona, the last jewelry creation that I made as an Arizona citizen. And I don't know, it's kind of cool, like weaving together the end of a timeline, maybe, if you want to get like esoteric about it. And it's really cool. Like, objectively, Etruscan chains are cool. And I'm sorry if you don't agree with me, like, it's fine. So when I get to Colorado, I end up patinaing the whole thing, which is oxidizing the metal. And then I run it through a tumbler to take off all the high points and just give it like a good polish. And I sit on it for a while. I wear it personally, and as I am filming and creating content for Fix and Finish Fridays, I put these pieces together and it felt like they had always belonged. Like, all of these pieces were finally coming together. I had asked to have a boutique that I had sent this pendant out to send it back because it had just been around for so long, and I knew that it had a bunch of room on the back of the pendant. Like I had mentioned in the intro, I knew that there was a ton of space to engrave on it. And also, I just loved the piece, and I figured, well, at least I would like to wear it because I just kept thinking about it. I thought maybe it was for me. But as you can see, look at all that empty space. Like, there's nothing wrong with leaving a bunch of empty space on the back, but being that I am an engraver and I have these skills and desire to like jam pack as much detail into these pendants as possible, that's what I did. So I took the stone out and got it ready to be engraved. I push it into this putty called Loctite. Is it Loctite? Thermalock. It's called Thermalock. And I don't want to have the gemstone in that. Just who knows about the vibrations of the engraver, if that would crack the stone. I just didn't want to take any risks. So I push it into the Thermalock, get it on my engraving block, and I'm actually working under high magnification. What you can't see is a microscope that I'm looking through as I engrave all of this. So I basically draw the design on before I engrave anything. You can fix an engraved mistake, there's ways to do it, but I generally like to plan where I'm going to cut before I cut, just so that I know where I'm going. I can see how the composition lays out before I take it too far. And this is what you have. Like, as you guys saw for that very short little clip, that was real-time engraving. Everything else has been sped up to 5x and clipped a bunch. Because 7.5 hours of engraving, I mean, maybe there's room for that in the content world, something that you fall asleep to, kind of like those videos of people like walking around cities. Like, that's pretty mundane, boring content, but boy, when it's on at a restaurant, I do be watching. So I mean, maybe the full length engraving is something you guys want to see. I don't know, let me know. But I cut out quite a bit. And this is what it is turning into. I really love mandalas. I've been learning the language of ornamental design. And it's been like literally like learning a whole new language, learning about scroll work and how to design something to have ornamentation in a way that makes sense and it's not like stuffy or confusing. And I really love mandalas. The Eastern ornamental design is typically my favorite. It's what I have a lot saved on Pinterest, and what I end up drawing and doodling in my sketchbook are these mandalas. So I thought, how can I apply that to my engraving? And so here we have it. 1 hour of engraving down. I was working on this in 1 hour blocks because I think part of it was like I was still working through burnout and just trying to move my creative energy and not have my whole life revolve around my jewelry and like art anymore. Honestly, it was like trying to establish a sense of self outside of art. So I was still dedicating, an hour a day or so to this creative process while also like living my life and being a human. And so I would work on it in 1 hour chunks. And I think it was really fulfilling to like have this little creative project going on in the background while I was doing other things with my life. Kind of gave me a sense of purpose and a creative outlet to keep my creative fire going without letting it burn out completely. And, you know, at the end of all of this, I have a really badass piece of jewelry. Part of the video is where I feel like I made the biggest mistake. Like the chain and having to reweave all of that was a mistake. But this is where it was like I couldn't make up for it. Like I couldn't think of a good design to put behind the hand. So I did this weird leaf ornamental kind of situation and I hated it. So what I ended up doing was literally cutting all of it out. And that was excruciating. First of all, doing this like channel background removal cutting takes freaking forever, man. I think it took me like 3 or 4 hours to get all of the background removed. And then getting it all evenly flat. And then getting it all stippled, which is where you take like a pointed graver tip and you make a million little dots so that when you go to add the black at the end of this whole process that it like holds and it makes the surface really even and like looks really nice and clean. And just, oh my God, it was a mistake. I should have figured out a different design to do instead of cutting it all out. But it was kind of one of those things where like once I started, I had to commit to doing the rest of it because I wasn't going to scrap the whole piece. But anyway, lessons learned, you know, come up with a different design instead of cutting out a gigantic background. It is what it is. We got the thing done and we got to move on to the fun part again, which is the rest of the mandalas for the pendant. And it's really fun. I don't know, just the push and the pull, the give and the take, the repetitive motions. There's something about repetition in my art practice that I find myself returning to over and over again, and it doesn't matter what the medium is. Like I've been really drawn to fibers crafting this year. And like with knitting, let's take knitting a sweater, for example. You can see videos of me knitting a sweater on my channel if you're interested in seeing that medium take life. Thousands and thousands of stitches over the course of many weeks to create something that I'm just going to wear. You know, this is thousands and thousands of tiny little cuts created over several weeks that I'm just going to wear, you know, or someone's going to wear. It will be available for purchase if anyone's interested. Not that I'm really necessarily trying to like push too hard. I just want you guys to know, like, if it calls to you, it's available for you. It can be yours. And I don't know, there's just something about this slow, methodical handcraft thing that feels really good. It feels like my response to AI. Like, I have to be honest, I love AI. I use chat all the time. I use it like Google. I use it as my therapist sometimes. But in the world of art and creation, I feel like as we become a more technological society, the novelty will be in handcrafting again. Not that it ever really went away, but we've been so fascinated with technology because it's just so new in the grand scheme of humanity. You know, our ancestors didn't have the ability to have all of their deepest curiosities answered with the tiny box that they keep in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense that we have gone on this track of being so hyper obsessed with information and technology because it's the first time in human history that we know of, at least, where we have access to information like this. And it's really kind of cool. But I feel the deep desire to create with my hands and to create very slowly and go on dopamine detoxes and find dopamine through doing crafts like this. And it feels really good. So whether or not you guys actually like buy my art, I mean, I hope so. It'd be really cool to support my family with these crafts. But whether or not you're buying it, I'm still making it. I'm still going to be scratching into silver and gold. I'm still going to be making beautiful things with my hands because there's this deep internal desire to do so. The final process of making this pendant is to blacken all of the lines. And so what I've been doing recently is a process called inking, where you take oil paint, Rust-Oleum oil paint, and you dilute it with acetone, and then you push it into your engraving. I would say don't do this method on rings. It comes out. I've had a couple of experiences where I have to redo it with like an actual oxidation patina. It just chips out, you know, anything that's going to get a high amount of wear. I wouldn't do the ink, but It's a pendant. You know, you're not going to be banging this on a bunch of things like someone who works with their hands for a living would do with a ring. And yeah, here it is. I buff off all of the excess with a 4/0 steel wool and a 3M polishing cloth kind of thing. It's polishing paper, so it's kind of like sandpaper, but not sandpaper at all, actually. And it gives it a really nice, like, fine matte finish that I really love. I've never really loved high polish finishes. I love a matte finish, or at least like a mostly matte finish. I don't know. I feel like it just has like a more realistic finish for something that you could like actually live in and not fear completely messing it up. But here it is. Here it is, and it's so beautiful, and I'm so thankful that you were here to watch this process with me. Thank you so much for being here. So the last thing that I'm going to show you guys is how to put it on. The clasp can be a little tricky, and I noticed, like, letting other people interact with the piece, the clasp sometimes could get bent. It gets like a little off track. So you just want to be really careful when you put it on. It's not that it's delicate. It's just that it's all lined up a certain way. So you wrap it around your neck like so, and then you just push the ring back and push the chain on. And there you go. There it is. There it hangs. Options for this piece are you can wear it stone facing forward. You can turn it around and have the engraving facing forward. You could even take the pendant off completely and just wear it as the chain. I think that the chain itself looks really cool with the ring, like really cool looking. And then you could even hang other pendants that you have off of the ring and have it just be like a base model chain that you hang your, desired pendant from. And I don't know. I love how versatile jewelry can be. It's designed to show your personality. It's empowering. Amazonite has like its own energy and intention. Silver has its own energy and intention. And then that pairs beautifully with your own energy and intention. I'm really a firm believer that you can use your adornment to help craft the kind of life that you want to live and to embody the kind of person that you want to be. It doesn't have to be something that I've made. It can be a cheap ring from Walmart. When you put your intention into what you do and what you wear, it helps you embody the kind of life that you would like to live. It's all a little magical. It's all a little woo-woo in like a loving and endearing kind of way, not in like a derogatory woo-woo kind of way. And it's a lot of fun. And that's what it's really all about. Well, that was the video. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Did you make it to the end? Oh my God, thank you. Wouldn't be able to do this without you. Actually, I would still be making jewelry and filming these silly little videos without you, but you being here makes it so much better. And the fact that you made it this far in the video, you're rare. There's not very many of you who made it this far, and I'm so thankful that you're here. This project was so much fun. It was really fun watching everything back. As you guys saw, obviously, the engraving was lightning fast. That was like 7.5 hours of work. Have I said it a million times already? Probably. But I just want to reiterate, like, this is a handcrafted good. You're not going to find this on Shein. AI is not making this. I made this with my hands, with minerals from the earth, in collaboration with a gem cutter, obviously, and like I didn't mill all of the wire or make the clasp, like, in collaboration with other people. My genius went together to form this. And I kind of don't want to let you guys have it. Like, low-key, I'm like feeling myself as I'm wearing this. There's like a level of sass that's come out that, like, is it the necklace or is it like me unleashing my true potential? I don't know. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But what I do know is that I'll give it a shot. If it does stick around for a while, maybe it was meant to be mine. I don't know. I do love it a lot. But I would love it even more if you got to love it. Because I get to do this all day long. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get to make these pretty things anytime, anywhere. I want you guys to have relationships with these things. So if you would like to have a relationship with a piece of jewelry made by me, take a gander down at my website. You know what I'm saying? I got a link tree down below. It'll take you to my Instagram. It will take you to my YouTube channel, which you're here. It will take you to my website. Whatever other offerings that I have at the time that you are viewing this will be available on my link tree. Most of them are going to be on my website, like goods and services you can find there. But who knows? Who knows what else you can find on there? I don't know when you're going to find this. I'm posting this in May of 2025, but like, you could find this 5 years from now. I don't know what's going on for me. Has no idea what future me is doing. Yeah, so thanks for being here. Like and subscribe, do all the things, support the channel in the ways that you know how, obviously for free. You You can like the video, you can subscribe. Tell me your favorite color or your favorite gems. Like, tell me something interesting and fun and cool about you down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. What did you think? Did you enjoy the video? You can also share the video. That's free. Do you have a friend who might be interested in art and artisans? Are you yourself an artist? Are you yourself interested in handcrafting goods and beating the algorithm, beating the AI system? Although maybe the algorithm actually showed you this. I don't know. That was really cringe. Okay, so I'm gonna show you my cat. And this is a like cheesy check-in for those of you who are interested. For those of you who are new here, this is my cat Cheese. He's my best friend, for good reasons. Obviously, he's fucking adorable. Oh, he didn't like that. His coat is being blown currently, and he's got mats all over his body, and I do my best. I say that because there's one currently, I'm touching one currently, and I cut them out when I can, and I brush them out when I can, okay? I'm doing my best. He's just a fellow, okay? So, thanks for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. His breath smells like hot death. Until next time, my friends. Bye.